we're going to do today is do something a bit different. We're going to do some studies, right? So we'll do three studies from an old book, very old book that I've got. I don't remember how I got this book. It's called 1234 Modern Endgame Studies by M.A. Sutherland and H.M. Lonma. Please leave your comments below. Do you have any old chess books? This is a really old chess books. It's actually second hand because it was a guy called David. I'm not sure about this. The second name, Savory or something like that. Somebody sent it to him as a present. So it's copyrighted 1968 by Dover Publications Incorporated. Published in Canada by General Publishing Company Limited, Toronto, Ontario. So very interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at some of these studies, right? And so this is, so they're all white to play and win. You know, I think studies are very good for your calculation. If you train studies every day, it's bound to help your calculation. It's bound to help at least a little bit. I find, I once looked at this book and I was doing so that you got the king and pawn endgames at the start. And I remember playing a tournament in Isle of Man after that. I remember thinking, it was maybe the first round or second round, I felt more comfortable when I was calculating variations. So it will help your calculations. So this first position is white to play and win. So again, yeah, we've got people like Prag and Ando doing really well because they're training their calculation a lot. So this is white to play and win. My first thought is if you take on d3, they're going to go rook e2 check. So the best way to do studies, I think, is to use your calculation. You know, don't move the pieces. So obviously if I queen the pawn, he's going to take with a rook, and that's not winning, right? Now I could push this pawn as well. This is another option, but then they got check. So this actually already looks like a very difficult puzzle. However, that doesn't mean we should give up just yet. I will try to get one right. It's always a nice feeling when you get a puzzle right. I'm not saying I get them all right, but you know, I'd probably get a fair few of them right, and it's always a nice feeling when you get right, you know, because you know you won't get them all right, because you know, not even the best player in the world is going to solve every study. Some studies are ridiculously difficult. Yeah, this one's looking tricky. So how am I going to? So let's calculate. Knight d3, rook e2, king d1. They take on e2. And knight d3 is check, by the way. This is what I'm forgetting. Take. Why can't you take with a king? Because then they want to go king c5, right? And then when you go b6, they go. So I'm forgetting after knight d3 it's check. So knight d3, cd3, king d3, king c5, b6, king c6. Now if rook b8 you play rook e7 and white's not winning. And if you go rook c7 they go king b6. Also doesn't look winning for white. I think the first move must be knight d3. So knight d3, cd3. Do I go king d2 first? Maybe that's also a move, because I think rook e2 you lose the tempo. So rook e2 I go king d3. Let's say you go rook e6, I go king d4. That should be winning, because now my king is... Oh, I just got a new message. Maybe is somebody telling me no? I haven't got a new message. Somebody telling me the solution. So knight d3, cd3, king d2. Let's say they went rook e6, king d3, king c5. Is there any difference? Also after rook e6 I could go b6 immediately, right? King c5. But then rook d7, because if you go king b6 I have rook d6 check. So maybe the solution is knight d3, cd3, king d2, rook e6, b6. Again, you know, pause the video, try and think about how white can play. You know, play along at home if you want. Knight d3, cd3, king d2 feels like it might be the solution. So what happens if they go king, rook e5, b6, king c5, say. Yeah, so maybe after rook e5 I just go king d3, king c5. There might be an alternative way to win. Maybe just rook d7, because if you go king b5 I have king d4. So my guess is knight d3 and king d2. I'll come back to that one. Let's go to the second one. So these are all white. This is also white to play and win. So the first thing you think of is if you queen, they're gonna check you and then take, and then they might even be winning. So that's probably not going to be the solution, right? However, there are other moves. In general, that's the threat, is knight f5. I mean, there's rook check on c6. I don't know sure what difference that makes. A rook check on c6. If they go king d4, then knight e2. Now king e3 is probably losing to rook c3, king e2, rook h3. Well, probably winning. But after rook c6, they can also go king. Okay, king d4, knight e2. They've also got king e4, right? So how are you winning now? If I play a bit like king e6, like a slow move, you have knight f5. So it needs to be something probably reasonably quick, right? I mean, I know Maton that said, is there stuff with knight b3, you know? I don't know. Or knight d3. Knight b3, knight f5, move the king, take on h7, go rook c6. It's quite close to mate, but you can go to b4. Also, after knight b3, you have multiple other moves. I mean, I'm not an expert on solving studies, but it's a little bit like a normal position, I guess, in a way, in that you're often looking for forcing moves. So let's start with rook c6 again. Rook c6, king b4. I mean, then because it's a study, you look around for spectacular moves. I feel like rook c6 might be the starting point, because if you go king b4, there's knight a2 check maybe, or knight d3 check. There's stuff like knight d3, and then if king a3, you have rook c3, and then knight check and rook h3. But rook c6. The problem is this book is so old; it's not computer tested. So I did one the other day from this book, and I think it was actually like wrong. Like it said it was a draw. No, it said white was winning. Sorry, but actually no. Sorry. It said it was a draw, but when I checked it, it wasn't a draw. When I checked it with the engine later, the engine said you know, black was still winning or something. So you know, a lot of these have not been engine checked, so there could be problems with them, which makes it also quite interesting. But I'm having a problem solving this one anyway. This looks very tough, right? It's just like a weird position where nothing is very intuitive, and yeah, I'm having problems. Let's move on to the next one. So this almost looks like a position you get from a normal game. This is white to play and win. So my first instinct is, well, the first thing you notice is if you take the knight, I have rook b8 check, and then you take b2, and black's even probably winning there. So that's not the solution. However, there is the move rook e2. So what is wrong with the move rook e2? Bear in mind that black can actually castle here. So that might be a clue to what the solution is. But there seems to be a limited number of choices. So if I go rook e2, how do you escape? So it's white to play and win. So the obvious, it's almost too obvious that rook e2 is the move, right? If you go rook b8, I just move the king. Should be able to escape checks, right? Or can I? Maybe I can't. Maybe after rook b8 I can even go king a6. Maybe the idea is you go rook b8, rook b4. Aha. So after say rook e2, rook b8, king a6, rook b4, I'm not actually winning that obviously. Or, I mean, I can go into a rook and pawn endgame, but it's not obviously winning. Might well just be a draw, right? So for example, I could go rook e2, rook b8, king a6, rook b4, fe5, rook g4, e takes f6. Let's say you go king f7. Yeah, this should be fine, because if you take on g7, I've got rook takes a4. It's probably the simplest. And if you go, I mean, you could play a move like a5 maybe, but I don't think that's good enough to win. Probably king f6, king a7, maybe like rook b4, probably good enough for a draw, I guess. So if rook e2, does rook b8 check? What happens if I go king a5, stopping that? If I just go king a5, I mean, again, you could play with like h5. It's a very clever trick, rook b2. Right. This is very... In fact, that's your idea after king c5 as well, that you want to go rook b2. And then when I move the rook, say, if I take on b2, then you knight c4 check. And you're doing well. And if I play a bit like rook e4, you could take on g2. And already you've got lots of pawns for the even if you lose the knight, maybe you've got enough pawns to make a draw, I don't know. So it feels like rook e2 must be the start, because it's always weird variations like that, right? It's always weird stuff like you know. But I'm starting to think that after rook e2, okay, castles queenside doesn't make any sense. I could take on e5. You do have rook d5 check, but I've got king c6 that should be winning. So rook e2, rook b8, king a5, rook b2. Let's say I went rook e4, rook g2, knight e3. Is that not winning? And then take on e5, because you're going to have two pawns for the knight, but I'm guessing your a pawn is very weak, so maybe you're just going to lose the a pawn, right? Obviously, I don't know for certain, but it feels like that might be the solution. So rook e2, rook b8. It might be something cleaner than this, what I'm giving these variations. King a5, rook b2, rook e4, rook g2, knight e3. Knight e3 feels good for white. Let's say you go like rook a2, right? Like rook a2, pin me down, take on e5, take back. Maybe you don't take, maybe you just go king a6. Is there any other move that black could try? You could also go rook... Oh no, hang on, you've got a very clever idea, which is rook e2. Rook e2, fe5, f5. So this is why it's kind of like a study. It just looks like a normal position, but actually... But after f5, I have knight f5. Rook e4, knight d6 check. Right. But then if you go king e7, knight e4, king e6... Am I winning that? Let's say I went king a6 at the end, king e5... Should be winning, right, because of the a pawn. Not 100%. Knight f2. Ooh, so it's something like that. But I'm not sure where you put the king. Do you? Okay, is there any difference if I go? What's the difference if I go king c5, right? Maybe the problem is when I go, let's say I go rook e2, rook b8, king c5, you just go rook c8 check. Where do I actually put the king? Like, because I can't easily escape. I mean, I could go back to b4, but then you have rook c4 check. Yeah, if I go king d5, you go rook d8 check. And it's a little bit tricky where I put the king. So I think I have to go to a5. So I go rook e2, rook b8, king a5, rook b2, rook e4. I guess rook e4. Rook g2, knight e3, rook e2, fe5, f5, knight f5, rook e4, knight d6, king e7, knight e4. Should be winning for white because I could quickly... My knight should be quickly enough to stop the two connectors. And I'm going to be very quick with the king winning the a pawn. So my guess is that's the solution. But we'll come back to that. Did we do chapter 2? We kind of said that it was takes and king d2, but that might be wrong. This one I was really struggling with. And there's probably a really simple solution, but I'm not getting it. Oh, hang on a minute. I've just seen a move, which I didn't see the first time, which is just simple move c3. Aha, because very nice idea. No, hang on. But if you go b4, rook c6, king b5, c4, king a4, what's the difference? Right. Yeah, c3 is a nice try. c3 king takes, I go knight e2 check. And then knight f4. But why would that be winning anyway? It's something along those lines, but maybe that's a bad solution. I'm not sure about that one. So, should we check? Should we check what the solutions are to these puzzles? Right. So the first one, right, which is where's the solution? So this was in. Here we are. This is number 638. So it's H. Boff, St. Petersburg. So the one previous to that was 1910. So this was composed. It doesn't give a date. St. Petersburg. That's a city in Russia, by the way. It was founded by Peter the Great, and it was during the period where the Bolsheviks took over, the communists. It was renamed Leningrad after the leader of Soviet Union, who was Lenin. I believe his name was actually his original name was Ulyanov, actually, Lenin, and he was actually. So I'm going off on a bit of a tangent. You know, my favourite thing to do is going off on a tangent. 638. Let's get 638. Yeah, Lenin was originally called Ulyanov. I believe he was from the city of Kazan. And he's called Vladimir Ulyanov, and he changed his name to Vladimir Lenin. So they changed. So he was called a man of iron, or something like that, right? Whereas Stalin was man of steel, or something. It was basically Stalin. His original name was Joseph Duganishvili, and he was born in Georgia. But Lenin his brother was implicated in the plot to murder, successful plot, which was to murder Alexander III, Alexander Romanov, who was Alexander II, and where he was blown up crossing the river in St. Petersburg. But I'm going off on a tangent. Why am I going on off a tangent? But yeah, Peter the Great. Yeah, he founded St. Petersburg, and it's supposed to be one of the most beautiful cities in Russia. So they used to live in the Winter Palace there, and he was like a shipbuilder. So he wanted to sort of found something which was a kind of like a rival to You know, like the other sort of like Baltic states. There was like Baltic states like Latvia and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of rival to kind of Amsterdam, which was like a big pool, and he could compete with that because he was really loved ships, loved building. He was really tall guy. He was like 6'7", 6'8", and yeah, a very fascinating figure. But anyway, going back to this puzzle. So this one is 638. So it does start with knight takes. Yeah. And after pawn takes, you do indeed play king d2. That is the correct solution. So the computer agrees that this is winning. So the computer agrees with this one. It says this is correct. Rook e6. King takes pawn. King c5. Rook c7. King takes pawn. King d4. Yeah. Well, I gave Rook d7, right? What was I giving Rook d7? It's actually quite a simple one. Yeah, because if you go to b6, I have check, right? So after Rook e6, I was also giving like b6, maybe. b6 is wrong, actually. This is actually wrong, sorry. Yeah, because I was giving like here, and then here, with the idea if you take, as check. But that's actually a draw. Wow, this is actually a draw because I can't win because my king's bad. So again, yeah, lack of attention really to detail. That's often when you go wrong in calculation. I find that's one of my weaknesses, is lack of attention to detail. But that was the correct one. So chapter 3, so it was the next one, which was composed. This next puzzle was composed by F. Lazard. And it was composed in 1923. It's called Schwitzen Wang Shatwin Situang. I think this is a fascinating period. This whole stuff now with chess is so overhyped, and there's all these stupid internet stuff and everything. You forget about all this great past and great culture that chess had, because people are so obsessed with like chess Reddit and all this nonsense like Clash of Claims, all this absolutely overhyped crap. You know, that's really complete nonsense. But I must admit, I enjoyed watching some of that, partly because you know, it was like a clash of styles in a way, with Kramnik taking on this guy Jose Martinez. He's obviously a very good player, he's a very talented player, I think. But I do think you can learn a lot actually from watching Kramnik as well. Even though Kramnik gets a bad press, he's still got a very interesting style. He plays very positionally. He's got great strategic understanding. Overall, he's a better player than Martinez. It's unquestionable, he's a former world champion. Online, he's probably slightly weaker. That's why he lost the match. So let's go on to chapter 3. So this is what's the solution to this one? Let me have a look at this. Look this one up. So there's so many of these, you know, there's so many of these puzzles. So you do start Rook c6, right? King d4. Knight e2 check. King e4. Knight g1. Hitting the knight, hitting the rook, sorry. Rook h1. Very clever. I queen, and then when you do this, I come here, and I take, and then it's mate. So this, I presume the computer agrees with this solution. Why can't you go here though? Because just simple knight d3 movement. So it's actually quite a simple one. I probably overthought this one a little bit. Rook c6, king d4. Yeah, knight g1, only winning move probably. Very nice idea actually. Yeah, so again, correct, you know, considering they were composing this back in the early part of the 20th century, these were pretty impressive studies, right? So the last one, it gives as, right, we're gonna, last one. Okay, so it gives as a solution Rook E2, correct. Rook B8. King A5, correct. Rook B2, so I was correct about that. Rook E4, correct move, yeah. So I got a lot of this right. Rook takes the knight E3, correct, yeah. Rook E2. Pawn takes F5. Knight takes F5, and it's saying it's winning for white. So this is basically the line that I gave. But again, it's quite easy to see moves like Rook B2 if you get used to doing studies. One of the things I noticed when I saw Prag do the studies was he was able to find a lot of moves that didn't look obvious to me. I didn't see these moves, so I think one of the benefits of doing studies is you start to see ideas and moves that maybe you wouldn't normally see, and this is a good example of that because Rook B2 is kind of like outside of your comfort zone, right? Brilliant move, but still not enough. It's saying that Rook E1 is the wrong solution, by the way, because Rook E1, it gives Rook takes pawn, 93. Oh, and a beautiful idea. Knight C6. Now, if I come here though, I guess there's Rook B2, right? Yeah, and you're threatening mate. So, well, you're not even attacking the knight, so I can move the rook anywhere, really. But King B5 is an idea. So, Knight D4, I have King C4, right? In this position, black to play has an amazing resource. I think some of you might spot it. So I can't move the rook across because take with a knight, and I need to defend that knight. Again, check is not helping me because King C4, but you go here. Brilliant idea, yeah. So that's why it's an interesting study. If I take there, we have Knight D4 check. Although there's still King B7, Knight E2, King A7, right? Because in studies, you're not supposed to have an alternative. By the way, it says at the end, it says... There's lots of old books. I might buy one of these old books, like the Bobby Fischer book, right? You know, that was one of the old classic chess books, which was Bobby Fischer, My 60 Greatest Games. Says there, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's kind of like my fantasy going to like a chess bookshop and just going through all the different chess books. But yeah, go back to this position. Okay, so does the computer agree that this is the way to win the game? If I go back a move, is it giving Rook E2? It's interesting, computer's not agreeing with this. Oh wow, the computer's busted this study. Rook E2, and it says after you take, you just take back, and it's a draw. Oh no, the computer has destroyed the study. So, which study was this? So many. Again, you know, you can't really criticise these people because they're doing this back in the, you know, these studies were created. This one was created in 1926 by S.M. Kamina. As a wild guess, I'm going to guess that S.M. Kamina is no longer alive. So he probably doesn't care that his pride and joy has been busted. Yeah, so the point, yeah, I mean, it actually doesn't look obvious why it's a draw, to be fair, because you feel like you're going after this pawn, but the problem is that this whole construction is not very good for white with the pin on the knight. Because the first instinct is that F5 is the instinctive move, but that's just very bad, right? That's just losers. But if you coldly just take there, let's say white try this. This is a decent try, but you'd probably see you start running this board very quickly. If I go here, if you go H3, that's also enough, right? So if I just start pushing my pawn, you're just going to go h2, right? And that's just a draw, right? I mean, maybe I could even take here and make it. Yeah, there's actually lots of ways to draw. So that's actually kind of poor, like, in a way, because, you know, it's well known that, for example, if you take away all the material, just leave the rook, the pawn, and the king against the rook and the king, often those positions are drawish. So black has quite a big drawing margin here. Once you realise, I think, to be fair, in the original position, it's not obvious why it's a draw. But once you get to this point and you start playing around with some variations, then it becomes more clear that it's a draw. Yeah, but so I busted a puzzle. I busted a study. That's interesting. But yeah, so that was my attempt at. I'll try to do more videos like this because I love doing studies. I love doing endgame studies. I think it improves your calculation. Please let me know if you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. And I'm going to try and do more YouTube content. So I really enjoyed it. It's hard to do YouTube because I've only got 380 subs. And part of the problem is I do other stuff. And when you do other stuff, it kind of... you know, it takes the energy away from, you know, you feel like if I'm doing writing, let's say I'm spending like, when I write on a chess book, it might take me like 2 hours solid per day to write a chess book. And overall it might take me 3 or 4 months to write it. You know, I won't write 6 hours a day because I just don't feel the inclination to do that, to be honest with you. And I tend to write quite quickly anyway. So when I say 2 hours, it's more like 2 hours with me fighting around doing other stuff at the same time, like, you know, surfing online. So it's more like, probably in total, it's probably, you know, if I just sat there and just completely did the writing, it's probably in total maybe an hour, you know, maybe 40 minutes, you know, of just pure writing. But I'll try to basically do that over. But I'm finding more and more that I'm not enjoying chess writing now. Particularly writing on openings, I find that a little bit tedious. I'm not really enjoying it a great deal. I just find, you know, a lot of it is just, you feel like you're just repeating yourself a lot of the time. And so I'm not sure what the solution is. And partly the problem is, I think, with chess writing, is that sales are very bad now of chess books. You know, one of the chess books that I wrote recently sold something like 550 copies. And you think, yeah, I mean, I know chess book is never going to be a bestseller, like a New York Times bestseller, but it's still very poor level of sales. You know, you would hope to sell a few thousand, maybe, not like 550. You know, so it's very disappointing, and you start to think, why am I bothering to do this? When, yeah, for example, I could write a Chessable course, and I'm probably going to get better sales through that, better money through that. Why am I bothering to write a chess book when Chessable I'm going to make more, you know, stuff like that. But even like doing Chessable courses or doing video courses, you still got to do a lot of writing, right? So it's there's no obvious solution, but yeah. Anyway, so that was the video on the studies. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.